Today we're going to be making and reviewing the Pinterest recipe, Lemon Blueberry Buttermilk Pie. This recipe calls for a pre-baked 10-inch pie crust. I thought I would take this time to do a quick pie crust tutorial before we move on to the lemon blueberry buttermilk part of this recipe. If you already have a pie crust recipe you like to use, or maybe you're using a pre-made pie crust, you can go ahead and skip to the filling part of this video. But if you've had a little trouble in the past, or you'd like a quick tutorial, continue watching. I'm using the pie crust recipe that was suggested with the lemon blueberry buttermilk pie. It's an all butter pie crust. I've already added in my baking powder, sugar, and salt to my all-purpose flour, and now I'm going to start incorporating in my cold butter. Okay, why cold butter? Well, when the pie bakes, the butter is going to melt, and it's going to create layers with the flour that's going to give you that really nice flaky want in a good pie crust. I've been keeping my butter in the refrigerator chilled, so I'm going to go grab that now. Okay, as you can see, I've added all my butter into my flour mixture. I started with a hand pastry blender, and then I just like to finish with my fingers so that I can make sure all the pieces of butter are the same consistency and they're all coated in flour. They should be about the size of a large pea. Now you can use a food processor if you'd like, but I just don't feel like I have enough control over the consistency. I just like to do it by hand. Okay, the next step is we're going to add in our tablespoons of ice cold water. Now I like to start with about 4, depending on where you live and the humidity, that could also affect how much water you're going to add to your dough. I start with 4, and then you just want to mix it with your fork and see, once it starts to come together and you can clump it in your hand, you want to stop adding water. I'm going to start with 4, mix that together with my fork, and then if I need to, I'll add 1 tablespoon at a time, slowly mixing it. Now if you work too slowly or if it's very hot in your kitchen and your butter starts to get soft, you definitely want to throw it back into the refrigerator. Okay, once you can clump the dough together in your hand, stop adding water. Now I'm going to dump it out onto my lightly floured surface. I'm going to clump it into a ball, and then I'm going to divide it in half. Since this is actually for one whole pie, a top and bottom crust, and I only need half of that because I'm only going to be using it for the bottom of our pie. I'm going to separate the dough into 2 pieces, and then I'm going to refrigerate that for about an hour. We want to let it rest, and then I'll see you then. Alright, now that our dough is chilled for 1 hour, we're going to flour our work surface and roll it out. Because my table's too small, I'm just going to work right over here on top of my counters. The key to rolling out the dough is to use enough flour and to constantly rotate the dough as you're rolling it so that it doesn't stick to your surface. Anytime the dough sticks, you're essentially causing stretching, which is going to activate the gluten in the flour, and eventually that will cause shrinkage in your crust when you go to bake it, which you don't want. So just make sure you use enough flour and rotate it as you roll it out. Rolled out my pie dough, I placed it onto the back of a cookie sheet and into the refrigerator for about 15 minutes. Once I let it cool down again, I rolled it up with my rolling pin and then I rolled it into my pie pan. I trimmed it to about 1/2 inch around, which is some kitchen scissors, and then I tucked the edges under. Now I'm going to show you how to do really pretty fluted design on the top. You basically just want to take your thumb and your index finger and make a small V. You want to put that on the inside of the pan, and then on the outside take your index finger and push into that V. And you just go all the way around the top of the pie and you have a really beautiful design. That was easy, right? And now you have a beautiful decorative edge to your pie. The next thing we're going to do is par bake or blind bake our pie. I'm just using a piece of foil. You can use parchment paper if you have it. Okay, then I'm just going to put in my pie weights, which I'm just using rice and beans that I've mixed together. You could use pie weights if you have them, that's fine. Okay, and you just want to push it out to the edges. And basically what this is going to do is keep our pie from rising up inside of our pie pan. And it should help prevent shrinkage as well. Okay, press it in there really good. Now I'm going to put it into the preheated oven at 350 degrees until the edge just starts to turn a light golden. Then I'm going to take our foil out and I'm going to dock the pie, which basically just means take a fork and put some holes into the bottom of the pie. And I'm going to put it back into the oven until the top of it looks dry. You don't want it to get golden because that means that you've completely baked the shell. And we're not trying to do that here. We're just trying to par bake it. Yay! Our pie crust is done. Now it's time to make our filling for the lemon blueberry buttermilk pie. It's actually very easy. All we need to do is incorporate all of these ingredients to one bowl, whisk, pour into our pie shell, and pop it right back into the oven at 350 degrees. Okay, so our pie is finished baking, and while that's cooling, I started on our blueberry sauce. It's half a container of fresh blueberries, 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of water, and half a cup of sugar. And I'm just going to cook that until the blueberries begin to burst and thicken the sauce. And once that happens, I'm going to add in the other half of the container of fresh blueberries. My favorite part about baking is eating. Time for our review. It's really, really good. The lemon buttermilk custard is actually very creamy in texture. It's delicious. And that pie dough is very flaky from all the time that we took to let the butter chill. It's very good. And the blueberry adds just a little bit of tart on top of the lemon. So I would give this recipe a 5 out of 5 stars. If you've liked my show, like me on Facebook, or follow me on Pinterest, which is where I got this great recipe, or follow me on Twitter @SweetsWithE. I hope you have a sweet day. Bye!